Welcome back everyone to another Chaos Battle League video. This is The Average Gamer, and today I'm doing a follow-up to my strategies video, my pro tips video. If you haven't already seen it, I will include the link in the description. But today is just a follow-up, and the previous video we discussed about building your deck. Alright, so once you've built your deck, now what do? Well, of course, you put it in play. Before you go and play, make sure you understand what type of deck you have, okay? What is its play style? Is it a slow beatdown deck? Is it a fast-paced werewolf cycle deck? Is it a control deck? Is it a strong defensive counter-pushing deck? These are things that you need to take into consideration. For instance, the deck that I'm showing here, this is a defensive deck where I sit back and defend, and then once my defending troops, or until I feel comfortable at least, and my defending troops are crossing the bridge, I drop the dwarfs down for my offensive counter push. All right, so you need to know these things because you got to play the deck the way you built it. For instance, this is a werewolf cycle deck. It's 3.2. My whole goal is to be aggressive and get that werewolf down as much as I can. Beatdown decks is something where you put the Cyclops at the back when you hit 10 Elixir, and then you just let it build up and then put any troops in behind it as he's crossing the bridge. If you're playing a Cyclops beatdown deck, but you're always putting that Cyclops right at the bridge and just rushing in with the Cyclops, the deck's not going to work properly. And then you might want to reevaluate the type of deck you're playing. Because if you like to put that type of troop, your offensive troop, right at the bridge and let it go in, then you're better off going with, say, a werewolf or Spartan deck. So these are things, as I said, you need to consider once you've built the deck. So remember, build the deck the way you want to play, okay? If you're a slow, patient person, the beatdown style is definitely the way to go. If you're a high-pace, aggressive player, a fast-cycling werewolf or Spartan deck is going to do the trick for you. Okay, so those are the things you need to take into consideration once you've got your deck, okay? So once you've got all that figured out, then you got to learn your cards. Now, the important part of the cards you want to learn is your ranged units. So you want to understand the range of all your ranged units. And this basically just helps you with your defense so you know where to position the cards for them to be most effective. So when you're reviewing your ranged units, such as a Cryerbot, this one has a 5.5. So you just want to make sure you understand that type of range. This also helps when you're going in against, say, a Kraken, where the Cryerbot is a fantastic counter to the Kraken because he outranges it and will not be targeted by the Kraken. So it's good to know. Same with Bohea. Knowing the Bohea is especially Bohea actually, because you can place him on the far side of the map yet still hit the other side of the attacking troops while you're defending. All right, so that's what you want to know when it comes to your ranged units. It helps you place them effectively on the map, primarily for defense, but possibly for offense as well, depending on the situation. The next thing, and probably the most important thing, is knowing your spell damage, okay? So whether it's your Bolt, your Shurikens, your Moby Dick, your Cannonball, Sandstorm, Pandora's Box, you want to make sure you know what tower damage they do, okay? And the reason why, I'm going to give you a scenario. I'm going to pick one card. We're going to pick the Cannonball. Cannonball, tower damage, 408. Okay, I'm going to use an example. I'm losing. I'm down a tower, okay? Say I've got one of his defending towers down to 400, and we'll say 40 hit points. So I'm thinking, guess what? I'm just going to cycle to my Cannonball. I'm going to Cannonball, take the tower out, defend until we get into overtime, and then go for his other tower. But problem is this only does 408 tower damage. So when I launch that at the tower that's got 440 hit points left, guess what? It's going to be left with 32 hit points, and I'm going to lose the match because I won't have time to get any more damage onto it. So you want to make sure you understand this. So you're not sitting back or relying on a spell only to find out, oh, I lost, or I'm going into overtime now because I didn't push a little bit harder to get some extra damage on that tower, so then my spell card would take it out, okay? So that's what you want to make sure you're aware of. When it comes to, say, Sands of Time and Pandora's Box, where it's a damage over time, all you really need to do is just take the tower damage and just times it by the life cycle, all right? So it does 26 damage, all right? So just times it and you'll get your damage, all right? So what total damage will do. So that's how you figure this stuff out. I wouldn't rely on Sandstorm, though, to finish off your tower. Bolt is a good one, or Pandora's Box, obviously Moby Dick, Shurikens, things like that. They're all good spells that you'll want to use, okay? So, all right, so we've got into that. Now, you want to understand the radius, but mostly you just want to understand the radius of two specific spell cards, and that's Moby Dick and Cannonball. I'll use Moby Dick for an example. So let's go down to Moby Dick. Oops, sorry about that. Move that out of the way. Let's go to Moby. All right, here's Moby. Let's get this down over here. Here's Moby. He does 521 tower damage. 1,045 area damage. I'm not too concerned about those unless I'm using Moby Dick to take a tower out. Then I'm concerned about the tower damage. My concern is the splash radius. Mostly on when my opponent is going to be using Moby Dick on me. And I'm going to use the Dracula as a prime example. Okay. So I put the Dracula in the back, behind my tower, closest to the right tower. So when my Dracula comes out from behind the tower, he's going to cross over in front of my right tower and push down to the bridge. But my opponent decides to Moby Dick my tower and my Dracula, severely damaging my Dracula and chipping away at 521 damage on my tower. You might think, well, that's a negative energy trade on his part. True, but he took down my Dracula with only a couple hundred hit points left, which means he's going to be easily countered, and he managed to chip away at my tower for 521 damage. It's not a big loss for him, okay? But now I know that that's something he's going to do, and most opponents are predictable. If I were to put that Dracula in the same spot behind the main tower, crosses over, odds are he's going to Moby Dick again if he has it in play. What do? Quite simple. You place the Dracula in the center of the map, but outside of the 3 radius from your tower. So that if your opponent's going to Moby Dick, he's either going to only hit the Dracula or only hit the tower, but he's not going to hit both, giving him less value for that Moby Dick. The same goes for Cannonball. Cannonball's got a smaller radius, but if you're huddling troops up behind your right or your left tower, whichever one, and he cannonballs and he's hitting all the troops, stop doing it. Don't do it anymore. You've learned. Because every time you do it, guaranteed, your opponent's going to predict it and is going to start cannonballing. And some people who are very good will do a prediction cannonball. Before you even get the cards down, they're going to send that fireball out, okay? Or cannonball, sorry. So just remember that. It's really important, okay? Card placement. And we're going to talk about card placement some more, but when it comes to you doing counter pushes or offensive pushes, keep your cards out of their spell radius range as much as possible. Sometimes it's just, you can't do it, but you got to do your best to try, because otherwise they're just going to constantly take out your troops and you're not going to get anywhere. All right. So that is one of the things you need to take into consideration as well. All right. So you get into the match. You've learned the radius of your spell cards. You know your deck. You know the type of damage those spell cards do. So now it's time to play. Well, first off, before you make your first move, don't be over aggressive. Wait until you get 10 energy, okay? That's the biggest tip I can say right now. Don't jump in, just boom, send out cards. Even if you're a werewolf cycle deck, make sure you've got 10, okay? The only time I would spend before then is if your actual opponent is aggressive and they come at you. Obviously, you're going to want to defend, right? So that's first. Now, in the first 30 seconds of the match, the most important thing that you're going to be doing is watching your opponent's card rotation and what cards they have in their deck. This is super, super important. Learning your opponent's deck. I cannot stress it enough, all right? Watch how they play their cards as well, all right? Because most people play the cards the same way. They put the pyramid in the same spot. They toss the vultures in the same spot. They put the pistoliers in the back in the same spot. Whatever. They do the same thing. And you're likely doing that too. You're probably placed in the same spot, which is why you always want to make sure you're switching up your card placements to catch your opponent off guard, right? But you got to watch. Just watch. Watch what they're doing. Watch how they're playing the deck. Learn what combos they are doing. And I'm just not going to, there's all kinds of examples. I'm only going to use one example. I'm going to say Trapper with vultures, right? Your opponent's got trappers with vultures, okay? That's his combo. So, obviously what his goal is get the trapper to cross the bridge. Once the trapper starts taking damage from the tower, he's going to toss the vultures, okay? So this is obviously their win condition combo. So what you want to make sure you're doing is having proper defense back for both. Your deck can have multiple defense. I can't, there's so many different combinations, but say for instance you've got the pyramid and you've got the Crarbot, okay? I got them both of them in these decks, okay? I'm going to use that pyramid to distract the trapper, and I'm going to use that Crarbot to take out the vultures. Now, you're going to take some damage, but your whole goal is to mitigate as much of the damage as possible. So in the beginning, you might not have those cards in your hand when he comes with those. But after you've learned, don't play your Crarbot or your pyramid if you know he's going to come with a trapper and vultures push. because he's going to catch you off guard and you're going to take some heavy damage and possibly lose a tower. That combination can take a tower pretty darn quick. Definitely down to half without you even realizing it if you're not defending against them properly, okay? So make sure you understand their main win condition push and be ready for it. Keep your cards in reserve. For instance here, this deck, oh, wrong one, this deck here of mine, I've got the Quartermaster. Why do you think I have the Quartermaster in this deck? Because the 7 dwarves are now popular. And personally, I believe this, countered with the Gatling turret, is an amazing counter to the 7 dwarves. It works very well. It mitigates about 80% of the damage. All right. So if I play if I have a crappy starting hand and I play that Quartermaster in the back just to get things going for a slow push, and she's now out of rotation, he takes it down and then comes back. He comes with a counter push with the dwarves. Well, guess what? I now know that I got to keep that Quartermaster back at all times. So important, because I need to keep her to help that Gatling turret take those dwarves out. The dwarves are going to get nerfed. That I'm telling you right now. They're going to get definitely going to get a hit point reduction. I don't know if they'll get anything else, but certainly they'll get a hit point reduction. I think if they get enough reduction just so Pistoliers are effective and Gargoyles are more effective, I think that's what's going to happen. But that's another conversation for another day. I love the dwarves. Probably my favorite card right now, but they're going to get nerfed. Mark my words. So always keep your cards, the proper defensive cards, in rotation against their offensive pushes, okay? Remember that. Don't get caught without, I'm not going to bother watching that. Don't get caught without those cards in defense, okay? I'm telling you right now, just don't. So the other thing, and probably the most difficult part when it comes to your opponent, is keeping track of his energy. Now this is up for debate. It's not necessarily needed, but it does help you. Because if you know that your opponent is low on energy, you can certainly punish them with a heavy push, depending on what you have in your hand and the type of energy that you have. So, no, that's, I mean, it's, as I said, it's up for debate. I personally think it's a good idea to learn to keep track of energy. So if you're both sitting at 10 and he drops down a card that costs 3 and a card that costs 4, you know he's to spend 7. So you know he's only got 3 left in his reserve for any sort of defense. So keeping track of of energy is definitely a good thing to learn, but not maybe necessary. But try. You'll find out that it will definitely help you. So lastly, one of the other most important things is your own card placement when you're defending. It's just so important, okay? When they're coming down with a push, say they're coming down with a werewolf, and maybe in behind the werewolf they've got some Pistoliers or a gunslinger. And your defense for the werewolf is a pyramid, which is an amazing defense for the werewolf, by the way. You're not going to sit there, you're not going to put your pyramid down in the center, which you will. You put it in the center to draw the werewolf into the center of the map. Okay, so that if you position it properly, both towers will even attack the werewolf. But your added defense troop to help with the supporting troops, you're going to want to put on the other side, to the next to the, what should I say? If you're on the right tower, and if they're coming down the right tower and you put your pyramid in the center, you're going to want to put your other defending troop. Maybe it's a pharaoh, or maybe it's a Carabot. You want to make sure you put it at the far right, separating the pyramid and the Carabot from each other. This prevents your opponent from giving your opponent a cannonball value. It just keeps all of your defending troops separate. Okay, so say you don't have a defensive building, so you got to use a couple troops to defend. It's going to be the same thing. Maybe I'll put the Carabot near the center to slow down the werewolf, and then on the right side, I will put down whatever other troop I'm going to use to take it out. Maybe my own gunslinger, maybe some Pistoliers. Whatever you do, you want to make sure your defending cards are of more than 2.5 radius apart, so that there's no cannonball or bolts or anything that's going to affect those troops, or area effect troops, like the Tin Man, for example. That's going to be an important card where your card placement is going to be key. Unless you're using Sandstorm, the Tin Man is only going to obviously fire one way. So if you split your troops up far enough, he's attacking one, he's attacking one of your troops. You put the other one on the other side. in range. So you've got 2 units attacking Tin Man, kind of in like a pyramid shape, where the Tin Man's at the top and this is the peak, and you've got two troops to his left and his right and down a bit, so like a pyramid defense. That is a textbook defense, especially against a card like that. Obviously, if he uses Sandstorm and pulls your troops together, I mean, there's not much you can do with that. But if he's not using Sandstorm, which if you're using Tin Man, guys, you should be using Sandstorm. Just a quick tip. This deck here is absolutely amazing. This is my main pushing deck now. It's great. So, I'm just telling you that right now. Just a little heads up. And that goes for any type of troop. You want to do a pyramid defense. You want to keep your troops apart. Don't put your 2 or 3 defensive troops all next to each other. That's just silly. You're asking for trouble. So card placement on defense is super, super important, guys. Do not huddle your cards together. It'll stop them from Cannonball and Moby Dick value, and it'll stop any area effect cards like Carabot, like Bohea, like the Pharaoh, like Dracula, like the Quartermaster, like the new Tin Man. It prevents them from getting positive energy value out of your cards, okay? Remember that. It is so, so important. You will not win matches if you're huddling your cards up. It's not going to happen, or you're just going to struggle. Maybe you're just coming out of those matches just with a nick of time to win. But maybe you'll be far more successful, and your battles will go much quicker and much more effective if you stop placing your troops all in one big huddled up mess. So, as I said, card placement, so very important. Probably the 2 most important things while you're in matchup. Well, it is 2 most important things. The 2 most important things: keeping track of your opponent's card rotation, knowing their win condition combo. Every deck is built around some sort of combo, okay? That's just how you build a deck. I've discussed it with you, right? Learning how to defend against it and keeping those defensive cards in rotation ready for that push. And of course, card placement. It's so important, guys. I can't stress it enough. I've watched replays. I've watched how people play in the tournament when I'm going against them, and they just don't position cards properly, and it makes winning so much easier for me. And you know, it's just, I don't know, it's just simple. I'm not too sure what else to say. I don't want to repeat myself, but it's very simple. You know, this deck here I've got. My main push is the Werewolf. I will usually couple up with the Pistoliers. That's my winning condition. So if I'm coming in with this, people got to make sure that they've got a proper defense every time, waiting for that Werewolf and Pistoliers, right? So those are the important keys I wanted to mention. If you have any questions or concerns or more comments or more suggestions that I can put into another video, definitely leave a comment. But I really wanted to get out there about how to play your deck and how to be more effective with your deck. And so I'm just going to do a very quick recap. So build your deck. Obviously, first step. Then know your deck's play style, okay? How is it going to be played out? Is it a beatdown, fast-paced, defense, counter-push deck, or is it a control deck, okay? Then knowing the cards in your deck, specifically the ranged units and how much range they have, and the damage on your spell cards, okay? The tower damage on your spell cards, and then the radius on the Moby Dick and Cannonball. Not just if you're using them, mostly it's for in case your opponent's using them, because that then in turn goes into the next recap part, is card placement, okay? So making sure you're not grouping all your cards together. Of course, then keeping track of your opponent's deck and what cards they're using and what their win condition combo is. And then also trying your best to manage not just your energy, but keeping track of their energy, so you know when a good time is to punish them if they've just consumed all of their energy and you've successfully defended. Okay, guys? So that's going to do it for today. I know it's not the ideal videos. I can't show you any. I'll be honest, guys, I've tried to film this video probably 4 or 5 times by doing matches, and I'm just waiting, and my matches are just timing out, and I didn't want to show replays. I really didn't have any good replays to show you. A lot of them were me just being old, because when the tips that I've given here, I use them against real players, but against bots, I don't use them. I just go, I've told you before, I'm aggressive. I just go. I don't wait. And I played all bots when I was getting matches, so there's just no point in me showing it, because I can't really highlight it. So I'm hoping me just telling you is going to help you. I am going to try and do a video showing these tips, like card placements and all that stuff, at some point in time. I just can't right now until things change. But that's going to do it for the video. If you have any questions, any concerns, please comment in the comment section. And please, if you like the video, smash the like button. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. It helps me out so, so much. I really appreciate it. So thank you everyone for watching. And until next time, have yourself a great day. And oh, remember, try and keep just a little bit of chaos in your life.